Hello, hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to the intuitive card reading for December 29th through January 4th. In the States, this holiday week is the most random week because it's basically like airport time. Nobody knows what to do. Nobody knows what time it is. People are eating blocks of cheese for breakfast, sweets for lunch, and all this crazy stuff. Yeah. And wondering if you should work or not, or people in the office, are they not, that kind of thing. Anyway, with that being said, it's a weird week, so let's see what we have in store for us, but you know what to do first. Please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Please, what else? Comments down below. I always appreciate your comments. And what else? Share this with anyone that needs to hear the energies and the influences of this week. And also, too, it's the weird week. We also have a holiday. We also have New Year. Okay, so we have the New Year. So this is one of my favorite holidays. I'm so curious to see what comes up. For me, I could feel the calendar year change. Even if it's just a slight change, you can kind of feel the energy is different when you wake up on January 1st. So, all right, guys, I'm going to stop hyping it up and actually see what the cards say. So let's go. All right, what do we need? Companion. Love this. Okay, so loyalty, tenacity, and unselfishness. All right, so what do we need? A companion. All right, so basically this is saying, pretty straightforward. Hang out with somebody who you feel safe with, who you can connect with. This is possibly also saying, like, you need to meet new people. You need to, I know it says companion, but maybe you need to accompany somebody somewhere. So if somebody asked you to go somewhere with them this week, I would say accompany them for sure. That could be a New Year's Eve party or something. But yeah, I definitely feel like, companionship also is linked to pets. They're like the ultimate companion, right? So maybe you need to cuddle your pet. Maybe you've been thinking about a pet, and this might be validation or confirmation that maybe this is, around the right time to do so, or, in the right aligned direction for you. But yeah, there's not too much more I can say here, but friendship is important, companionship is important this week, and it's under need, so it's saying, yes, we need to kind of seek this out. Our soul is calling for companionship. All right, action needed, we have poise. Ooh, okay, we like this. Okay, so poise is like, all right, I'm getting ready. I am ready. So action needed says, ooh, I like this, I like this. This is basically saying, you guys know I love that new energy. This is basically saying, like, okay, take all of the steps that you need to take before you're ready to launch. That's basically what it's saying. So it says action needed to get everything ready. Okay, and it's under action needed. So it's saying do that this week. Okay, as I mentioned earlier in the video, it's a weird week where people don't exactly know what to do or what they should be doing. This is what you should be doing. Getting things ready, preparing for the new year. And that could include rest. Okay, because we are going into the year of we have a numerology universal year 1, and then we also have a year of the horse, but that doesn't start, I think, until February 17th, which is the Chinese, based on the Chinese zodiac, and that's the Chinese New Year. So, and the horse are fast, they go fast, they gallop. So things might be speeding up for us in the new year. We'll see. So yeah, this is saying get everything needed this week, like start getting your things together. There's not too much more I can say there. All right, issue. We have Earth Guardian, stay rooted and grounded. I love this. Guys, you can't see all of it. You can see my sleeve is green, but I'm also wearing green sweatpants as well at the bottom. So lots of green. I feel very earthy, feel very grounded, but this is saying that we're having issues doing that. Okay, we're having issues staying grounded, and we're having issues staying focused. Maybe we have issues being in our body. Like maybe this could also mean like maybe we're dissociating a little bit, but this could also mean like we're not being practical. Maybe we're being too dreamy, which is not like a bad thing, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's kind of saying like we need to kind of get more grounded and rooted into like what's actually happening, and not necessarily like maybe another way to put this is like, if you have dreams, putting it, bringing it down to earth and making, making more of like a practical plan to achieve it. So that's definitely what that could be. What else? Yeah, like I said, dissociating. So you might have issues with that this week. It's popping into my head. I read intuitively. Can't speak today. Possibly yoga or some kind of breath work, which are really big grounding practices, could be helpful for you this week. All right, challenge. Alchemist, transformation of base motives and goals into golden wisdom. Okay, so this is about transformation. So we're having challenges with transforming, transformation. Okay, so, and basically it's saying like we're like transformation in the way of like into like a new version of ourselves. So we're having a challenge there. So basically it's saying like, I like this card for this week because it's basically saying like we're going into like you're becoming a new person, but you're having challenges with that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got some limbo energy the rest of the reading, but this is just basically saying like we're kind of, I don't know how else to say it, but like we are just having issues stepping into maybe a new version of ourselves, and maybe some of the old versions of ourselves pops up this week, and you might just feel uncomfortable being, putting yourself into the new version. So if anybody's ever read the book The Alchemist, it's a really good book. It doesn't necessarily, it talks about, yes, the journey that the protagonist goes on, and how they transform, and everything kind of like aligns itself. It's honestly more about alignment than it is alchemy, but the idea here is that you turn into a different person based on your experiences, and like that transformation is now coming to fruition, and it just feels a little bit maybe uncomfortable for you to kind of embody, speaking of rooted and grounded, embodiment of that new version of you. So I like that next to the Earth Guardian, right? I like to see that for this week. That's a good one to have there in the challenge, because it's basically saying, like, speaking of the Chinese zodiac, this year was the year of the snake, which sheds its skin and you become like a new version of yourself. You transform to a different version. So basically just saying we're having a hard time with the new version of us. That's it. Just challenging doesn't mean it's a negative thing. So, all right, change. Loyal heart. Okay, so our loyalty is changing. Maybe a little bit of our heart chakra is opening up. Maybe we're feeling more loving. We're feeling more loved in general. This also can signal friendships. So our friendships might be changing. We might be coming off of the Alchemist. We might be changing. Therefore, who we are friends with might also be changing, if that makes sense. People that, maybe you have Okay, I'm going to give an example. I have a couple of best friends. I love them dearly. In the last few years, as I've been under my own healing journey, they have either gotten married or moved away with their significant other, or are preparing to have children, or all of the above. And I love them to death, but, and they're really good friends. I'm not saying they're bad friends, but they kind of prioritize their relationships over, and I would say it's like a natural way of doing that, that happens, is that the friendship does look different, right? Now that they're in relationships and married and all that stuff, or about to have kids, now the kid's going to be the priority, so the friendship is going to look differently. So, this could just mean like the relationships are changing, but also too that this could, I'm in a better place because I've changed, and because the situation has changed and the energy has changed, for me to attract more like-minded people to me, and people that have kind of like the same idea of like friendship than to me, right? The same idea of like matching energy, I guess, is like the best way I can kind of say it. So I definitely do feel like that's changing. Like the people that you would be friends with is like that kind of dynamic is kind of changing about what you're now like a match to something different, if that makes sense. That's what it feels like. But also too, what I said earlier about maybe a change of heart, like meaning like being more loving, you know, feeling more open, like that kind of thing, is definitely a possibility as well. So, but that also helps attract and, you know, and bring more people in, right? If your heart is open, right? I mean, that's kind of common sense there. All right, focus. Trust your talents in changing times. Okay, so this is saying trust your ability to pivot, trust your ability to be resourceful, to be resilient, all those good things we talk about. And so make that your priority. So there might be something that happens this week that you kind of have to shift and kind of make do with, or just be flexible, or, you know, very similar to the flexibility card. I wouldn't be surprised if that came up as well. But yes, similar energy, but that's what it's saying to focus on. All right, reflect. It says bully. Ooh, highlight your tendency to intimidate others, helps you confront the inner fears that bully you. Okay, so this is basically, so it's under reflect, so it's asking us to see where we beat ourselves up, basically. So it's a little bit of shadow work here, where it's saying like, where are we very critical of ourselves? Where are we critical of others? Yeah. Yeah, where do you bully yourself, basically? So yeah, I mean, just some good journal prompts. Maybe because Spirit doesn't want you to take that energy into the new year, and maybe you feel a shift in that way. Yeah, but no bullying ourselves in the new year. Spirit does not want that. Our responsibilities, the fates. Okay, so this is really about like what is to be will be. It's kind of like a destiny type card, but it's saying like, you know, if it's meant to be, it'll be. So your responsibilities are to have that attitude when it comes to whatever happens this week. If you're over focusing or over worrying or have anxiety about like achieving something or doing something on time or meeting a deadline, or what else could be under responsibilities? Yeah, just that you feel like, let's just put it this way, anything that you feel like you have to do and that you don't get done, you have to adopt this attitude, because I have a feeling that you're not going to get it done, right? Because or you're not going to kind of like do the thing or whatever it actually is. And so this is like, if it's meant to be, it'll come around again. And I feel like we need to hear that with responsibilities, because we might miss a quote unquote responsibility or maybe even opportunity. And so we really need to understand that if it's meant to be, it'll be. Say you got a job interview one of these days and you accidentally miss it for whatever reason, because again, it's like a weird week. If you're meant to have that job, you will. I mean, here's the thing, I wouldn't go into it with that attitude, but I would adopt this if something happens, if that makes sense. Am I making sense? Hopefully I am. But yeah, it's basically saying like, you have to have that attitude. You have to adopt that attitude if something happens where you feel like you've lost out on some, quote unquote, I'm doing the air quotes, you can't see, but quote unquote, if you miss out on something, you have to kind of adopt this attitude to stay sane, is basically what Spirit is saying here. All right, money, finances, and career. We have shapeshifter, transform, and unveil your gifts. Kind of similar to the Spirit Fox, okay? It's basically saying, yes, be flexible, yes, be adaptable, yes, be resourceful, but it's also saying like, show, like it's a week to definitely show your gifts, like show what you're made of, like maybe of something that you have not even kept hidden, but maybe was like underutilized, right? So this is really good for work, because maybe you're stepping up and showing a skill that a skill or, you know, a gift, whatever you want to call it, could be useful, but nobody's ever kind of like needed it or seen you in action or something like that. And it really like helps you in work in some way, shape, or form, like helps you get, if anybody's working this week, that is. But yeah, it definitely does feel like maybe somebody sees potential in you that maybe they haven't seen before, because you just haven't had an opportunity to show what you're made of or what you can do. Like you haven't quite had, that opportunity, essentially. So, if you, like, I have a feeling some of you guys are going to have to be, you guys are going to be asked to maybe like step in for someone or step up, and you're really going to blow it out of the water. Right. And so I really love that. And under money and finances, how it could relate to that is, maybe you find out that you're actually good at investing. Maybe you find out you're actually good at trading or something like that. You're actually good at managing money or whatever, something along those lines. But I definitely feel like it's a little bit heavy on the career. So, you're going to show people what you're made of, and unveil like something that is, again, kept kind of like hidden, but not because you're purposely hiding it, it's just you haven't had the opportunity to kind of show it. So I love that. There's definitely some opportunity here for you guys. All right, surprise artist, expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the five senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. Okay, so this is definitely surprise in the way of you could be inspiring somebody, and somebody might actually verbally tell you that this week when they say, they might say like, hey, you really inspired me to do this, so yes, can it be like, it definitely feels like it's more us, right? Where people say like, oh, you're inspiring to me. But this could also be like you being inspired by someone as well. It could go both ways here. For sure, somebody could inspire you to become more self-expressive in some way, shape, or form, or you might find yourself being more self-expressive this week. But I definitely do feel like it's more of the inspirational thing kind of going on. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came out of the blue and said that you're the one that inspired me to do this or to do that, or whatever it actually is. But also look out for possibly inspiring people this week. And if it is the latter, I would not hesitate to tell them, right? Because I think that's why it's kind of going both ways. Like I'm feeling it both ways. It's like, if there is somebody inspiring in your life, like tell them how much you appreciate them and how much they make you want to do better or, be better. So it's some beautiful energy going on here. So yeah, I like that one. All right, friends, let's see what comes out here. Look what we've got here. Not shocked, okay? Especially since that poised energy, especially since that alchemist energy up there in the challenge spot. We have Between Worlds. It's our card of limbo. You guys know this card by now. It's under friends. Guys, this is a pretty clear message here. Companion, loyal heart, between worlds. We're getting a new friend. We're getting a new friend. We're making new friends. Whether it's one or a bunch, could be community because it's also friends. Could also mean that a family member is feeling more like a friend. That could also be the interpretation. But or again, like I said, with the loyal heart, we're maybe being more open to the idea, and you can kind of feel that this week. So maybe our actual reality doesn't reflect it, but we can feel that we're more open to meeting people or making new friends. Maybe all year you've just, you need to, but you don't feel like it. And then this week you feel the energy of that. Like you're like, wow, I actually do want to, maybe that's one of my resolutions. Like maybe I want to make more friends this year. But yeah, I definitely feel like Between Worlds is basically saying, one foot in the old world, one foot in the new world. So we're in between like friendship groups. Like we're in between, we haven't quite let go of maybe our old friends. We haven't quite made new friends. Okay, so there is definitely a huge change happening with friendship here. It's pretty obvious. It can't be more obvious. I mean, guys, I cannot make this up. I shuffled all the cards. I forgot to say that in the beginning. I shuffled all the cards. And this is what came out. You can't make this up. So I'm not shocked there. But also just, making a mental note here is that if you don't see it in your actual tangible life yet, it's more likely like you're opening up to the idea of it. And you can feel it energetically. But I would say some of you maybe you know, because we have the companion card up there, maybe you do make a new friend. It's possible. So just pay attention to the people that you meet this week. That's what I have to say on that. All right, romantic connection, we have seer. Okay, so this one is always good because it's saying you have to see a new perspective. You have to see beyond what's kind of going on here. You have to see what's underneath the things. So this actually might have something to do with if your partner is telling you one thing, you have to kind of see beyond their words. Does that make sense? So you kind of have to see like the underlying issue. If your partner is bringing up something and it's like, it seems like maybe like surface level, that means that there is something, there's something more to this, right? You know, maybe if your partner flips out because you didn't do the dishes and quite literally it was like 1 or 2 dishes. Is it about the dishes, or is it about all the other times that you promised that you would do, you know, the chores around the house and you didn't get to it? And so that was like kind of like the final straw kind of situation. Does that make sense? So it's basically saying like kind of go deeper with your connections here, especially when you're in conflict for sure, and kind of see what it's really about, not necessarily what your partner, maybe your partner doesn't even know, right? Or maybe it's you. Maybe you're making a big deal about something and you kind of have to say to yourself, okay, what is this really about, you know? So a lot of, speaking of shadow work with the bully, there's some shadow work here. We have to kind of self-reflect a little bit. I don't see it as a bad thing. I don't see it as a positive thing. I just see it as this is neutral. This is just what's happening. That's it. That's just the energy that's going on here. So definitely be more curious and go beyond surface level. Yeah, just go beyond surface level. Important, seeker, thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are. Ooh, what a good one. Okay, so seeker says, seeker's under important. So it's saying it's important that we look for wisdom and truth. Yeah, and really figure out what's really going on. I mean, very much connected to what I just said, coming from the romantic connection. So I definitely say like, Spirit is trying to hint at something here. So definitely watch for this within your romantic connections for sure. But also a good general thing. It's important to remember that you must, you know, seek truth, right? And so this message could be, it's important you discern all the information that you receive this week. Maybe something comes out in the news that you feel a little skeptical about. You know, a lot of stuff is happening in the US. It's constant, nonstop. But this is really, you know, asking you to really find the truth and really question things and that kind of thing. Health and wellness. We have serendipity. Okay, so this is basically serendipitous, meaning like it is synchronistic. It's aligned. That's another way to say it. So we have it under health and wellness, which is a great spot to have it. And it's basically saying like things maybe feel a little bit more aligned with your health and wellness journey. Things feel serendipitous. Maybe you've been thinking about a specific weight loss program and you see that, it goes on sale this week or something. And it's very serendipitous because like you really wanted that program, but you couldn't afford it. And then they did this massive sale and now you can, right? It's very much kismet. It's very much aligned. It's very much in flow. We love that. So it has to do with health and wellness. I always use the weight loss journey as an example, but it could be anything. All right, overall outcome, what do we got going on? Ooh, okay. Take charge with authority, Lord. Okay, so this is about being a leader. This is about being more of like an authority, speaking more articulately. This is about taking the reins, realizing that you can kind of create your own reality. So I definitely feel like by the end of the week, we feel that way, where we feel like we're taking charge of our life. It may feel like things are maybe, we have more of a hold on our life. We have more of an idea of where our life is going. We feel like we have a little bit more control, and control in the positive way, not in the control in the negative way. So we just feel good about it. We feel good about the trajectory of, where it's headed. And yeah, we just feel like more put together than usual, I will say. So I love that. So guys, I think it's a pretty great week, honestly. I definitely know what I'm titling this video. I mean, you cannot deny there's something going on with friendships here. You cannot, there's a big shift in how we love our friends, the friends that we have around us, how we make friends, our desire to make friends, our desire to be around animals and have companionship. So, yeah, very interesting stuff going on there. But I see it as a positive thing. But change is hard. Change is hard. You know I love it, but I'm a Gemini, so I'm a Gemini sun. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.